Hi, and welcome to New Gods Sunday School. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. There is a pre-order link in the show notes below for I Am Stan, and at that same link you can pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. See it to believe it, the Omega Effect. The Forever People. It wipes you out of existence. So this is issue 6 of The Forever People. We have a Vince Colletta inked cover, and this is a really exciting issue. This is just, one of the great issues of this series and one of the great issues of like the larger, New Gods mega series. So let's get started. At this point, these series have been around for a year. This is a bi-monthly series. It's 6 issues in. Now we're into this, multi-part epic. It was sort of issue 3, 4, 5, and 6 have been this sort of ongoing soap opera of, the Justifiers and Glorious Godfrey and Happy Land and Darkseid and now Sonny Sumo's entered the story. And this issue, we're going to see the Omega Effect. Darkseid. We finally get to see Darkseid's superpower manifest itself. We've seen him all through this series. We've seen him do all kinds of things, but it's like, does Darkseid have a superpower, or does he just sort of skulk in the shadows in the background? And it's in this issue we find out that yes, Darkseid has his own superpower, and it is as terrifying as this guy is. In the secluded area where the world of Apocalypse has established Glorious Godfrey to preach the destructive creed of anti-life, a patrol of his Justifiers make a security sweep. It's the vehicle left behind by those new Genesis brats we captured. Destroy it. Where they are, they won't need it anymore. The Forever People's supercycle has been parked here since issue 3. And so it's just sort of a reminder of, how long they've been trapped by the Apocalypse crew, and it's sort of their refuge. It's this sort of goalpost that they have to get to if they escape. But objects not made on Earth don't function as they do on Earth. There are surprises in store for those who tamper with them. In fact, in this era when the new gods have come to decide the fate of the universe, they've brought their strange powers with them. And before this segment is over, you'll have witnessed the shocking use of the Omega Effect. But first, let's see where it all begins. And so we get this establishing shot, this re-establishing shot that we saw in issue 3 when they went into Glorious Godfrey's tent revival. And now they're going to murder the Forever People's motorcycle, their supercycle. It's moving, changing, the handlebars, the cabs, the wheels. On New Genesis, the creed is life. Programmed to ward off death, the supercycle defends itself. Having paralyzed its attacker, the supercycle continues its rearrangement. For all purposes, it's now an impregnable fort waiting for the return of its young friends. So yeah, it's kind of like a transformer. It's transforming into battle mode. The handlebars turn into a cannon, so it can defend itself. And, you can imagine how cool this toy would be had the Forever People sort of gone to market in that way. Again, Kirby's, creating a gold mine for his employers here. And of course, they just, they throw it into the fire, but they could have had a whole toy line, a whole sort of, Super Sentai thing before such a thing existed, creating something that worked on all kinds of levels. And now we get to see Glorious Godfrey, who we haven't seen since issue 3. He sends his guys off to fight this supercycle that's holding its own against his men. We'll volunteer for the job, Glorious Godfrey. Give us the chance to serve you. Zealots will do anything. Just point them in the proper direction, Godfrey. And so he sends them off to fight. And now we're back to the Forever People themselves. And again, we have this amazing Mike Royer inking on this story. This is the first Mike Royer inked issue of the series. And I do like Vince Colletta's inks in general. If you tune in for the Thursday Comics episodes on this channel, you'll see that you might agree with me that his inks are especially appropriate for the Thor comic, but I feel they are less so for the New Gods and Forever People and Mr. Miracle. These are, I can see why, it would make sense that the guy who inked Thor would be the guy to ink these sort of, Kirby God epics. But this stuff has a different feel. These are modern myths. They have a heavy sci-fi element. And I think, Royer's slick racing stripe futuristic approach is much more appropriate. And I feel that all of these series really come alive once Mike Royer comes on board. And this one's no exception. This panel here it really looks amazing. As we saw in the previous issue, this anti-life equation that Darkseid's been looking for, and the human mind that contains the anti-life equation, Kirby's not stringing you along. You don't have to wait 100 issues to find it. He has it right here. And Sonny Sumo is the bearer of the anti-life equation. And we get to see anti-life in action. To all personnel within range of my voice, stand to attention and listen. So the anti-life equation, it's kind of like the voice that your mom or dad puts on where everybody starts listening, but on a cosmic level. If you have the anti-life equation, what you say goes. And Sonny Sumo has somehow found this way of this mindset that he can get into, that when he says something, people do it, whether they want to or not. Throw your weapons to the ground and release all prisoners held by Darkseid. Well, if Darkseid's men are near their communication units, they'll do just that. It's worked here. Sonny's command has made instant zombies out of this group. Horrible. Yes, horrible. Their bodies function, but their independent will is gone. They can only serve Sonny Sumo. True anti-life. Right now, as wielder of the power, Sonny Sumo is even greater than Darkseid himself. And here in the heart of Happy Land, I vote to leave. I don't blame you. Order one of these zombies to give me his weapon. You heard him. Do it. And I like how Sonny Sumo, who's this very, sort of kind character, when he's employing the anti-life equation, he gets kind of scary. You heard him. Do it. I obey. So he hands over his gun, and Mark Moonrider, not Luke Skywalker, Mark Moonrider, he starts shooting up Happy Land and just, blowing it up, and then runs away and tosses the gun. Leave the gun, take the cannoli. All instruments in this room operate everything seen and hidden in Happy Land Amusement Park. A few well-placed shots will start a chain disruption that can't be stopped. Go. And so we take leave of Happy Land, kingdom of the damned, where pain masquerades as laughter, where despair and death perform for Darkseid. Happy Land, whose dying remains I leave to the police mop-up squads. And so, we had tension, and now we have release. Those people we saw imprisoned in Happy Land at the beginning of issue 4, this sort of Humpty Dumpty, Tweedledee kind of figure, his head cracks like an egg, and those imprisoned people finally break free, and they're loose. And now, the police are showing up at Happy Land, and all these sort of troopers there, the Apocalypse troopers, are all just frozen as per Sonny Sumo's commands. We get a scene here that bad guys are all fleeing Happy Land. Big Bear is looking for one of these ships so that his friends can leave too. And this is another one of those scenes where, Jack Kirby described the Forever People as the first nonviolent superhero team. But sometimes the genre calls for a certain amount of violence, or in the moments where you'd ordinarily get, some fisticuffs, Kirby's instincts are still telling him he needs the fisticuffs, so he finds, again, a way to incorporate it, but sort of, makes the characters come across as Big Bear in particular, come across as passive-aggressive, finding a rationale to beat someone up while still maintaining his, a pretense of nonviolence. Obviously, the guys who run Happy Land are deserving of a beating and more, but it's kind of funny how it plays out. But one of the justifiers is delayed from leaving the secret landing strip. Hey, cut that out. I'm trying to get this Aerovan off the ground. Oh, please, sir. I'm seeking transportation for myself and my friends. Please listen. Mad dog hippie, you're holding back this tonnage with your bare hands. You must be stronger than a bull elephant. My stars, sir, can it be that high-density atoms flow through and reinforce my own atomic structure? Big Bear with "Oh my stars" makes me wonder if Kirby had written those lines for the Beast in the X-Men. You moving mattress, you're from New Genesis. Oops, well, Big Bear is my name, sir. When he talks about you moving mattress, makes me think of Princess Leia saying about Chewbacca, can you get this walking carpet out of my way? Well, Big Bear is my name, sir, and power is my game. That's my bag, sir. I store an excess of free atoms and send them where they're needed. Here, perhaps. Pow, and sends the guy flying. So, the dialogue makes it sound as though he's just sort of giving a demonstration of his power and then, whoops, accidentally sent this guy flying. So it's a funny and interesting dynamic. And of course, it plays out differently here where he's punching a through and through bad guy out of his seat as opposed to the innocent bystander who maybe made a couple cracks about him in issue 2, who he hugged to death or to near death. How true are Highfather's words? Violence breeds violence. So, obviously he is aware that what he was doing was an act of violence, even if he dressed it up with some, fun patter. Keep quoting, beard face. It ain't the worst way to die. These are apocalypse guns. So you're it, baby. Explosive echoes still crash about as the firing ceases, and the men slump to the ground at a curt command. Sleep, you dogs. Sonny comes in and puts all these guys to sleep with a word. Darkseid and Darkseid are on the defensive. For the first time in the entire series, they are cornered and scared, and there's a very real threat in the form of Sonny Sumo and the anti-life equation, and that this anti-life equation that they're searching for has to be handled very delicately because the person that has it is not a pushover. And like was said earlier, the Sonny Sumo is now more powerful than Darkseid himself.
Fascinating. Those young hot bloods of New Genesis have found a way to outwit us, Darkseid.
Yes, with a mother box and that mountain of muscle, Sonny Sumo. Sumo, without mind stimulation from mother box, can't use the anti-life equation. But if they should confront us at this moment, even we can become its victims. Stop them, sire.
I shall, Darkseid. I shall.
Sumo wields the ultimate mental weapon.
Boldness, Darkseid. Risk the raw meat of existence. I shall strike with these and the Omega effect.
So we're about to see it, the Omega effect. So I had read these comics out of sequence. Again, I was this was long before they were collected in trade paperback. So I was reading them out of sequence, and so before I had ever read this issue, I read New Gods number 11, where Darkseid uses the Omega effect again and uses it to devastating effect. In that issue, no spoilers, but he kills somebody in that issue and kills them irrevocably. So I saw just how deadly and dangerous and scary the Omega effect could be in that issue. So then going back and reading this, I was like, oh man, the Forever people are fucked if Darkseid's letting loose with the Omega effect. And as a kid, I saw a much. They didn't refer to it as the Omega effect, but I saw a much reduced version of it in the Superpowers cartoon show. As Darkseid says, the Omega effect, the end, the total wipeout. You would use that, sire? And so, the total wipeout, makes me think of like surfing, the sort of surf culture that was relatively recent, still like a few years prior to this, but relatively recent. Wipeout. But I'm also thinking of characters like the Living Eraser and some stories Kirby had done prior to that of characters who can just sort of erase you as if they're wiping like a dry erase board. I mean, this is one of one of the great images, one of the great drawings of, the entire sort of New Gods mega series. And one time I made a T-shirt for myself with this image on it. It's just sort of terrifying, wonderful, awesome, comic booky. I love what's going on in Darkseid's eyes there, and Viking is sneaking in, and he's ready to do the superhero thing.
The pups have angered me, Desad. Put me on the defensive. A great feat. In what more proper way can I pay respect to such daring? It begins, Desad. I've generated the finder beams.
I found you first, Darkseid. You'll deal with me.
Then so I shall. You're too late. The beams are at full power. As Alpha is the beginning of all things, then Omega is the end. Farewell, Viking.
He's gone, great Darkseid. There's nothing left of him but a small patch of fading light.
Now to seek out the others with the force that knows no barriers.
Oh, the Omega effect, the force that knows no barriers. Just another great Jack Kirby invention. And yeah, the way I had seen the Omega effect employed in New Gods number 11, my first time reading this comic, I thought Viking was dead. I thought he was gone. It's like, okay, because these series have set up that expectation that there's a real sense of stakes, a real sense of life and death, and that characters can be killed. And Forever People is an ensemble. So yeah, maybe, and again, I've read a bunch of comics, Viking's one of the Forever People. And I thought, and you kind of have this maybe subconscious and conscious expectation that, yeah, of course, the main characters in a comic aren't going to get killed. But it's like, okay, this is a comic that I had never really heard of. I just sort of, stumbled upon in sort of, learning about Jack Kirby. I'd never seen these characters anywhere else, never on a cartoon or in another comic book. So it's like maybe this is the last issue of the Forever People. Again, I'm sort of finding these issues one at a time. At a time when the internet was not what it is today. Maybe Viking dies the same way characters would die in the X-Men or something. So it's like Kirby's he's created such just in comics alone has sort of created this sense of dread and danger and the potential that anything can happen, which is a very exciting thing to have when you're reading a comic book. We kind of feel like we've seen it all, and these moments where you feel like you're in uncharted territory are pretty great. So I thought Viking was dead, just in my reading of it. And now another great splash page, and you see these sort of finder beams, and now who's next? Who's going next? And just like the way Kirby draws the Omega effect, it's so uniquely Kirby and so beautiful, and just like the path that it follows, it just has this really amazing just rhythm and geometry to it. And I can almost imagine the sound of it. The way I sort of picture the Omega effect playing out, like if it were in a movie or something, it would be like the discs in Tron. It would kind of make a similar sound, and you'd see like the trail, because that's the only other time I've seen anything like this would be the discs in Tron kind of move in this way, as if they're sort of directed by the consciousness of the thrower, and can sort of turn on a dime and change direction in midair. And of course, obviously, I was not born when this comic was made, so I'm like I said, reading things out of sequence and really reading things out of sequence. So I'd seen Star Wars and watched the Transformers, and I'd watched Power Rangers before I ever read this comic. I'd watched Tron before this comic. So things that came after this are sort of informing my reading of it. So I'm hearing and imagining the discs in Tron as I'm seeing the Omega effect, where somebody reading this in 1971 would not have that, and maybe would not have those sort of touchstones, and would sort of contextualize this stuff in a different way, and maybe not be able to quite contextualize it because they didn't have those things to buttress it, and so maybe didn't fully appreciate it. The Omega effect is swift, relentless. It reaches through walls for hundreds of yards and looks on to its prey. Finder beams. Moonrider, Darkseid's about to cancel us out, but totally. Sunny, use Mother Box to protect us. She's our only chance. And just look at the terror in everyone's face. But the Omega effect is quicker. Sunny, Sumo, and Mother Box suddenly vanish. No. Good new Genesis, they've had it. So now Sunny Sumo's dead, and Mother Box too. Gone without a trace of their ever having been here. We've infuriated Darkseid. And that was the thing of the Omega effect. It erases you, and it's as if you never even existed. It's worse than death. And now, we felt a little bit safe. Pac-Man had just eaten a power pellet, and the ghosts were running away, and now, Pac-Man's gone. The tables are back turned. So this feeling of power, this feeling of possibility that maybe this is the final issue of the whole thing, and they're about to defeat Darkseid and Darkseid forever. That feeling of sort of safety and of empowerment is now gone, and now it's like you are seriously fucked. You went from being about to defeat the final boss to being about to lose your last life. Big Bear, look out! And now Big Bear's dead. And again, reading this suspension of disbelief, whatever it was, the first time I read this, I was like, oh no, Big Bear, like the Forever People are dropping like flies. Maybe the Forever People becomes a threesome now. Maybe it's a 3-person team now. Because I don't know. I have, we don't have the history of, hundreds of issues of the Forever People. So yeah, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the final issue of the Forever People. Maybe this becomes the new lineup. No, Big Bear, not you too. He's beyond help, Mark. The thing is after all of us. Let's run. There's no escape. Darkseid is playing cat and mouse with us. We can't just give up. Let's make for the Arrow van Big Bear captured. So yeah, there's just 3 Forever People left. No chance. Separate. Take different directions while I attract these beams. No, Mark, I won't leave you. We'll go together. And again, reading this for the first time, it was just this very heartbreaking moment, and I believed it. I fully believe, this, as sort of, cynical and I've seen it all. Jack Kirby just has that power. He has that power, and I believed it. I believed that this was the end. That this, this sort of, Romeo and Juliet story or something. These two are just erased from existence. The last terrible sight is like a fatal blow to Seraphin. His own existence seems to vanish with his friends. Oh no, come back. And he is, this is Luke Skywalker watching Ben Kenobi, get killed by Darth Vader. The Omega effect is a meaningless terror to him now. Seraphin walks fearlessly into its path towards the fast fading vestige of all that was dear to him. I'm alone. So yeah, he is just really depressed. And now he just doesn't even care. This thing that they were all terrified, now that he's lost his entire family, he just doesn't even care, and he just walks right into it. And somehow, that protects him. This is one of the great moments of the series, this whole sequence. And again, this is why Forever People, as much of it as it's sort of the forgotten segment of this myth cycle, is required reading. It's vital. It's got some of the best moments in the whole mega series. And as a witness to endless tragedy, Darkseid enjoys this one with equal gusto. And now the youngest Darkseid, now him. Darkseid is loving every minute of it, and this might be his favorite part, seeing the sort of youngest and most sensitive of the Forever People about to be wiped out of existence.
No need. The threat to us has passed.
What? You would leave such a dramatic experience incomplete? No, sire, no.
I regret to say this, Darkseid, but I don't have the stomach for your kind of pursuits.
Really contrasting these two visions of evil. But Seraphin should share the fate of the others, and they no longer exist.
I do no more than what has to be done.
Darkseid pimp slaps Darkseid, gives him this cosmic backhand.
However, what you said about the fate of the others isn't true. They do exist, but not here, not now. You see, as master of the Omega effect, I can manipulate it in many intriguing ways.
Having previously read New Gods number 11, I only knew the Omega effect as this thing that like irrevocably erases you from existence. And it's sort of been set up that way in this issue too. And so when the Forever People are struck by it, you assume you're never seeing them again. And Kirby just does. But what I would say, he does the impossible or the near impossible. He makes you believe in the context of a superhero book that he creates a threat so credible in the form of words and pictures. He creates a threat so credible that you think that even for a moment you think that the starring characters of a superhero series could be killed by it. But yeah, they are not dead. So he usually that's how the Omega effect works. But Darkseid seems to have a soft spot for the Forever People. He views them as enemy combatants, but he also has some sort of warped paternal feeling for them, and he can't bring himself to kill them, to do the killing stroke. So of course, this is a Jack Kirby comic. What was I thinking he'd kill off these optimistic, youthful superheroes, these title characters of the book? But again, he got me. I got gotten, and it's a Jack Kirby comic, so yes, they are okay. They've been erased from this reality, but they exist in some other reality. Darkseid then walks out into the fiery night, where the Holocaust of Happy Land lights up the sky.
Don't fret, Darkseid. We'll attain our goals without complete victories or defeats. See what a fine spectacle misfortune provides for us. Have we truly lost, Darkseid, when the power and resources of Apocalypse are barely scratched?
I like that. Happy Land, this sort of multi-million-dollar project, this cosmic Disney world of evil, is completely in flame, and it's just the tiniest. They've barely scratched the resources of Apocalypse. When Great Darkseid finally attains the true anti-life equation and commands all life with a word, he will not forget the trials of poor Darkseid.
On that day, old friend, 1,000,000 slaves shall build 1,000 more happy lands for you to play in.
So there's an interesting idea that Darkseid will build 1,000 more happy lands for his friend Darkseid. This sort of, these are the stakes. This is the dark future that awaits if Darkseid wins the war. 1,000 happy lands. But who feels the ugly sting of conflict more than its living victims? In the shambles that surround him, Seraphin grieves quietly. I can't believe they're gone. I can't. So, as far as Seraphin, the reader has been let off the hook. We know the Forever People are okay. We don't see them, but we know they're okay. But Seraphin does not. This could have become this series. It could have been the solo adventures of Seraphin. The cops are showing up. Seraphin's got to make a break for it. But no flying vehicle made on Earth can overtake an object that speeds in the electron stream, still undiscovered and never traveled here. Seraphin heads toward Glorious Godfrey's encampment, where squatting on a hill, the one familiar object to which he can cling. So in sort of a bookend, Kirby set up that the super cycle's there waiting. So this is Seraphin's way out. The super cycle, it's assumed the defensive fort position. It's tracking me. There's been trouble here. The Justifiers must have tried to destroy it. So, irony of ironies, the super cycle, this living technology that could shelter poor Seraphin, is now trying to kill him because it's in its defensive position. It doesn't recognize him as, without Mother Box to help identify me, I can't approach it. I'll have to count on my cosmic cartridges to spell out my individual pattern. Its signals will register on the cycle's computers. Don't fire. You know me. I'm not hostile. And so Seraphin, a play on the word seraphim, he's an angel. He's, an updated version of Angel from Boys Ranch. has a halo. This is his cosmic halo that's produced by his cosmic cartridges, and it's his way of sort of electronically letting the super cycle know who he is, and very very beautifully drawn by Kirby there with the deep shadow. I'm Seraphin, and we two are all that's left of our unit, just we two. The rising dawn finds a lonely, grieving Seraphin, wrapped in solitude and lost in thoughts that take him far from the grim realities closing in on him. Quiet. When I lift my hand, attack. So Seraphin gets a moment's rest. We get a beautiful sunrise, but this is an ongoing comic book. Danger awaits in the next issue. Stand by for more action, friends. The Forever People are alive and well, but wait till you see where. In our next issue, I'll find you in yesterday. So, I mean, issue 7 was a very special, is, as you'll see, is going to be a very special issue of New Gods. And Forever People, issue 7 is pretty special too. And you'll see in the next one, it's a pretty cool issue. We are in the thick of it. We're in the best of the best of the best that comics has to offer. And it's just going to continue. And as a bonus, it's a 22-page story. So in these extra large issues, there's still a couple pages left. We get this great little bonus story, a prequel story taking place before the events of issue 1 of the Forever People. Another incident in the lives of the young gods of Supertown. Raid from Apocalypse. Edited, written, and drawn by Jack Kirby. Inked by Vince Colletta. So, Royer's on the book, but Coletta's still there to do, little bits and pieces here and there. We've arrived on New Genesis, but are we unnoticed, Captain? I see only a young one. He looks harmless enough. So this ends with Seraphin alone, and then this story begins with Seraphin alone in a very different setting. Seraphin alone being stalked by armed apocalypse thugs in both of these. I'm assuming Jack Kirby started drawing this the minute he finished drawing this one, just went straight into this. Unload the thermo bolt machine from the boom tube. As for you, young one, you're now a prisoner of Apocalypse. What is this? Can't you see I'm in the midst of meditation? The cool arrogance of you New Genesis whelps is well known. I'm Captain Ogre of Darkseid's own raiders. So we have Captain Ogre, a pretty cool character that I'm assuming has never shown up in another comic book again. You've broken the interworld pledge by coming here. Let me worry about that. Right now I'm interested in your shiny orbital city. Supertown? What are you up to? We're going to bring it crashing down with this. You must be mad to bring this here. It's a horribly ugly pollutant. So yeah, talking about meditation and pollutants, we're in a new era here, that Jack Kirby's living through. You'll never be troubled by the thermobolt machine. Your nemesis is this implosion gun. You there, don't point that thing at Seraphin. It looks dangerous. Another witness, destroy him. You're destroying my exercise. Oops, I've dropped the log. You made me nervous. Run, it'll flatten us. So again, this is Big Bear's modus operandi. He's pledged to nonviolence, but he sort of finds ways to attack people and pretend it's an accident. He's accident prone. With a strange accuracy, the huge log hurtles toward the thermobolt machine. Seraphin, look out. When the log makes contact with that activated machine, this whole area may go up. Bwam! Seraphin, oh, what have I done? Don't be alarmed, Big Bear. I'm encased in a shock repellent field. When Anakin Skywalker, blows up a space station and says, oops, it really bothers me. But when Big Bear does it, it doesn't. I see nothing except that you live, Seraphin, and I give thanks for that. The shield has dissolved into free atoms. It's returned to the object in my hand. A cosmic cartridge, you big humbug. I had time to remove the right one from my hatband. I'm not without defense. How pure and protective are the products of New Genesis. As for our foul violators of the peace, they sleep in shock of their own making. There may be more raids, Big Bear. I fear we may soon see a time of great trial. I love whenever they do this establishing shot of New Genesis and Apocalypse, the two sister worlds. Of course, this incident occurred in the days before Darkseid openly broke the peace and chose Earth as the battlefield. But even then, the energy flame pits burned brighter on the sinister world of Apocalypse as its dark shadow began to crawl across the sun-dappled green of New Genesis. Jack Kirby is already toying with, the idea of telling stories in the days before the war began, these sort of like Cold War maneuverings. When we read issue 7 of New Gods, we'll see, that we'll see a much clearer look at this stuff. And it makes me wonder if maybe when Kirby did this, he was just sort of starting to formulate issue 7 of New Gods, or if maybe he had already worked on it, maybe he'd already conceived it, written it, and started to execute it in some form, and then thought, oh, let me fill it out a little bit here too. But we're moving into a very exciting era for these series. I can't wait to share that journey with you. I'm Tom Scioli, author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. In the show notes below, you'll find a pre-order link for I Am Stan, and at that same link, you can pre-order the softcover edition of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. I'll see you next week for New God Sunday School.